Hi, this is Corey, and here's another Synchro training video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about logic and linking, and around these three topics. First is creating logic, then we're going to talk about modifying logic, and then I'll cover a couple special tools that Synchro has to offer that are different than some of the other tools out there. So, let us begin. I've got this generic template started out just with some tasks created. If you are uncomfortable getting to this part, you're going to have to check out one of my other videos. But this is, just a few tasks for us to work with here. So the very first way that I like to talk about is linking as chain. And really, this is how I create probably 90% of the links that I create in my schedules. And the way this works is that I click on my first task, task 1, and I hold shift, and then I click on as far as I want to go. So I go from 1 to 8, and if I want to link all these as finish to start relationships, I'm going to go to link tasks, and then link as chain. Ctrl L, it's this little waterfall icon that you can see right up here. So link tasks, link as chain. And then I hit my reschedule button, and that is when that logic gets instantiated. So one more time, I'm going to hit undo. I got to hit undo twice. Once undoes the reschedule, and the other one undoes the logic linking. If I click on task 1, I hold shift on my keyboard, click on task 6. I'm going to link all of those in a finish to start relationship by clicking on this link as chain. I then go to reschedule or hit F9. All of that's going to pop out. It's going to waterfall right in that direction. So the other way to do a link as chain is to click on the first task, and then I hold Ctrl, and then I click on the tasks in the order that I want to complete them. So I'm going to go 13, 8, 11, and then 12. And then if I link these, there's going to be a whole spaghetti of logic, and I hit reschedule, and they're going to go out right in that same direction. So that is a very fast way to link our activities as a finish to start type relationship. Now, as we can see, the order on which I click on these activities does matter. So I'm going to undo each of these relationships. So I clicked 1 to 6 before. If I thought, well, all I have to do is highlight them, so I click on 6, hold shift, click on task 1, and then link as chain, reschedule. This is probably not the preferred result that we're looking for. And it's important to note that changing this drop down up here does not change the actual relationship types of links that I've already put together. Those only change future link as chain type relationships. So this is a very important dialog, and you need to be checking back here to make sure that you are linking the correct logic type that you're looking for. So I'll undo that, and what I'm going to do is do an actual link as chain the right direction and then move it down. So now oftentimes if we have to link task 5 to task 9 as a finish to start, how I'll do that is just click on task 5, hold Control, and then click on task 9. And then I go up here to link as chain, and then I hit reschedule. So I can do a link as chain even if there's only 2 tasks, because then I'm just linking a very small chain of 2 tasks. If I wanted to link task 9 to task 10 with a start to start relationship, what I could do is change this start to start, click on task 9, hold Control, click on task 10, link as chain, and here if we zoom in, we can see that, hey, this is a chain going from 9 to 10 as a start to start. Okay, so switching back to our OneNote document, that's link as chain. Then the other way that I make logic is to manually drag the arrow. And I do that by first clicking on the bar. Oftentimes we'll have to zoom in a little bit so we can just click on the middle to get these dots. And then you'll see that if you hover on the upper right or the upper left, your cursor turns into the little chain icon. So I'm going to go the upper right hand corner of task 10, and if I go to the back half of task 11, it's going to go as a finish to finish, and this is going to be a finish to start. So all I have to do is kind of go between the start and the finish of that task. Whichever half I'm on, that's going to be a finish to start relationship. Alright, so if I go there and hit reschedule, then that's going to be my finish to start relationship. So if I can go up here, do a finish to finish with task 9 to task 10. Fantastic. Alrighty. So again, that would be the manual drag creation of links and logic. Now in a recent version of Synchro, we have the option to now modify our relationship types, our link types, by double-clicking on the individual relationship. So for instance, I'm going to link these two as a chain from 11 to 12 and say, darn, I forgot to change this back from start to start to finish to start. So I can change it now for next time, but I want to change this particular relationship. So what I do is hover over that relationship line on my schedule and double click on it. I just hover over because I know I'll click on it once my task becomes, or once my cursor becomes the chain. So I double click on that, and now I can change this from a start to start to a finish to start. And we can see that graphically it changes, and once I hit reschedule, it pops out. You'll also note that if you, by default, if you just hover over the task, a predecessor a link dialog box pops up, or an information balloon that gives you some information. So what's the predecessor, what's the successor, what's the type, and is there any delay on that activity. Delay used to be known as lag in some other softwares. Synchro calls it delay. Same concept. So if I wanted to add a start to start delay between tasks 9 and 10, the way I modify that is to hover over this relationship, then I double click, and I say, for this activity in the start to start relationship, I'm going to have a 2-day positive delay. And as I do that, we can see that this line comes in, and then once I hit reschedule, these tasks are going to be updated appropriately. That whole clicking F9 or clicking on the reschedule button, that only happens if you have turned on the option for disable automatic rescheduling, which I still recommend. Another way of changing logic is to do so in the predecessor dialog box. And we do that in the task properties. So if I go to the task properties and open up the links section, I can see all of the links associated with a particular task. So for instance, task 5 has a predecessor of task 4 and the successors of task 6 and task 9. And if I wanted to say delete this relationship, I could right click and say remove, or I can also change this as my start to start logic, as we can see here, or go back to finish to start, change the amount of lag. Notice if you're going to do a finish or start with the negative lag, you've got to come down here and change it to negative and then do a negative delay. That's not a best practice. It's not recommended for anything over very schematic early schedules, and even then it's frowned upon and not allowed by at least Beck's scheduling policy. Alright, so now I'll talk about the unlink command. So I'm going to link together these last tasks using Ctrl L, and here I'm going to bring up my custom toolbar here, is unlinking tasks. So if I wanted to get rid of the logic between these two activities, there's a few different ways I can do it. One is to click here and then select the link from over here, or if I just right click, I can say delete that link, And once I delete the link, I can see the upstream float, and when I hit reschedule, task 18 will go up to the beginning. Another way that we can do this is by going to Link Tasks and Unlink. And I've made a keyboard or toolbar shortcut for doing that. So if I click on at least 2 tasks and I say Unlink, what that's going to do is delete, it's going to vaporize all the logic in between the selected tasks. So I'm going to re-add all this logic, and so if I click on task 17 and I hold shift and go to task 15, I'm going to do this unlink command, and when I do that, it's going to look for any logic between 15, 16, and 17. And if we say unlink, it's going to vaporize the links between 15 and 16 and 16 and 17. Notice that that command does leave the relationships between 17 and 18 and then 14 and 15 because we didn't have 14 or 18 selected. So now when I hit reschedule, all these activities are going to bounce back up to the top. This can be good for if you have certain areas phased, and say your drywaller is going from area A to area B to area C, and then there's an issue that comes up that they have to go from area A to C to B. As you know, that sometimes happens. You can delete all that logic and then relink in the proper order. Let's see, getting back on task. Okay, so I'm going to do some of my these special tools now. So we know that according to proper scheduling theory, all dogs need to have tails. That means all activities need to have a successor, a finished successor. So oftentimes what we find ourselves doing is going around our schedule and looking for that finish milestone and linking all activities to the finish milestone. That can be time consuming, and Synchro allows us a better way to do that. So here I can see my activities that don't have successors, and I can say, okay, task 18, 12, and 8 are all going to be linked to the finish milestone. And the way I do that is by going to Edit, and I'm going to find this task called Link Many to 1. And what I do is click on all the activities, and then finally click on that 1. So I know this one's the special one in this relationship because I'm going to say link many to 1, and now I draw all 3 of those lines without having to click on each set of tasks individually. Now, very similarly, I can do a start milestone, and we create that a very similar way. It's a little bit counterintuitive because we first click on the many, we hold Ctrl, and then we finally click on that 1. And the way I try to explain it is link 1 to many. The 1 is the special one, and it has this outline around it. So once I do that, you're not going to see all that much difference, but it did go to each of these tasks. And if we click on our start milestone, we see that, yeah, indeed, now it has 2 successors as task 13 and task 1. So that can be a really helpful way to go back and fix the logic of your schedule. Finally, I'll talk about dissolving versus deleting an activity. So, if I was to delete task 15, once I hit reschedule, task 16 is going to drop back to my dated date, and that may or may not be what I want it to do. So in Synchro, what we do have the option to do is to dissolve tasks instead of deleting tasks. Now, what that's going to do, it deletes the task, but it replaces the relationship from 14 to 16. It says, okay, you're not going to do task 15 anymore, so we're just going to go straight from 14 to 16. You know, that could be something like this This could be frame walls, insulate walls, and then we're going to do drywall. If we found out that, hey, in this section we didn't have any insulation, what we can just do is say dissolve that task, and now we're going to go straight from framing walls to doing drywall. So, some helpful time-saving tips that hopefully can save you a little bit of time down the road. So, what we covered was creating logic, modifying logic, and then a few special tools that Synchro has. So I hope this video is helpful to you, and let me know if there's anything else that you need help with. Thanks.